beautiful people. Welcome back to the Dr. Coach Show. I am your host, Dr. Coach Daniel Pueblos. And today we have my good friend, Mike Dean here. How's it going, Mike?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Always. Yeah. So let me tell y'all a little bit about my friend Michael Dean here. So he's actually born in SoCal. What city were you born in? I was curious.
I was born in Upland, but I was raised up in the high desert.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Went to high school at Serrano High School in Phelan, California. Went out to work for the Walt Disney Company in 2004 and traveled the world. Went to Japan, Singapore. Let's see, where else did you go? Bahamas, Florida, Canada. Oh, man, you're all over the place.
Yeah, man. Got to travel.
That's awesome. I love that. Then you started with the Silent J Entertainment, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on in 2016. And then now, I know that you are doing a lot of events, and I know that's kind of how you and I met through my brother who plays the sax. But yeah, you do a lot of special events. I've seen you at the House of Blues, and I know you're a common face there, and you're doing some weddings and a lot of different events throughout Southern California. So, and I know you're trying to just add to your bag of tools with some certifications in life coaching and hospitality, right? So It's fun stuff, man. So yeah, again, I appreciate you being on, and I'm excited to let everyone get to know you a little bit, right?
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Being that I know you have a career in music amongst many trades that you like to do, and so talk to me about like why you decided to pursue a career in music.
Okay. Well, I've always loved music, and funny enough, I actually in high school I joined choir to meet a girl. That's not creepy at all, by the way.
Not at all.
Funny enough,
no judgment here.
Yeah, we became really great friends. I took her to prom, but I'm glad that I did that because I realized how much I love to sing, and I really thought that could be something I could pursue. Except I was always discouraged by what we all know as the overnight success paradigm. Whereas I'm going to move to Hollywood. I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to get discovered. I'm going to be famous. They're going to throw a tour bus at me, a record deal. They're going to just, hook me up. But, once you get hip to the fact that that's not how it works, most of the time you get a little discouraged. So I decided that with the skills I did have, I would at least start the journey without my destination in mind. Mm-hmm. And, I started off just busking and asking venues if I could play for free, and I'd put out a little tip jar. And the more I played and the more I talked to people and made relationships, the more opportunities would come my way. And with that, I had to evolve. So I started looping and learning the guitar more and making my own bands, having duos and trios. And now I'm obsessed. I can't get enough of it. And even in a COVID-19 world, I'm still able to pursue this dream of mine. And I'm really fortunate, to be honest.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it sounds very similar because I know, like I said, I know you through my brother, Matt Pueblos, who worked in a couple of bands, and it's such a common story, right? Having to go busk and just put out the tip hat or the jar, work gigs sometimes for pennies, right? Compared to what, most musicians deserve. So like, talk to me about your journey, like from when you started till now. Like, what are some experiences and the kind of challenges that you and other musicians like yourself have faced?
Okay, well, like I said, I've been performing since high school, so I kind of had a little advantage as to when I started. And I knew from there I wanted to perform, but never knew how. So I think one of the biggest challenges at the beginning was knowing myself and knowing what I was capable of, and really doing a self-audit. So once I did that, I realized what I needed to improve on. And the more I explored guitar and songwriting, the more I wanted to pursue music. So one of the biggest challenges that I've had throughout till now is actually working with bandmates. My current band, I have zero worries, which is great. We all are on the same page. We all meet often before COVID, obviously, and we discuss where we want to end up goal wise. And at the end of the meeting, we all come out on the same page. So we're all very goal driven, and we're on the same journey together and take the same path to achieve those goals. But I'd say the biggest challenge is bandmates throughout my career and how I've approached those challenges with I would say a limited mindset where I would, blame other people for things that are my fault and things like that. And now that I've got a different mindset, I take complete ownership of everything. And it kind of gives me this pass to not complain and to solve problems even quicker. But, with any business, you're going to have challenges with working with a team. It's very important to be on the same page. And once you are, it's pretty much smooth sailing.
Sure.
Yeah,
and that's so true for some. I mean, it doesn't really matter what industry, right? Every industry, no matter what craft someone is trying to get into, what industry, it's just like a lot of times you have to put in that work, and for many people, it's you have those challenges of, I've done this for so long by myself, and now I'm having to be a part of a team, right? Sometimes you're just so fortunate to have the team member, just everyone clicking on the same page. Sometimes not, right?
Right.
And so that just comes with, and obviously the more people you add into that one group or team, the more risk there is to having certain issues, right?
Right.
And because I can't tell you how many times I heard the stories about just different challenges that people have had in that industry because of like, oh, one person's not doing this, their mentality is different from other band members, right? So I can imagine like that's tough, especially for like someone like up and coming, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's a trust thing, you got to be able to trust your team. One of the bands I had, my guitarist forgot his guitar on multiple occasions. So it's hard to trust that kind of person to bring what they're supposed to bring to the gig and then find out that you got to do some damage control with the venue, make them wait even longer for what they hired you for. And you just got to really make sure that you establish trust with that team, in my case anyway.
Sure. And that's so true. I mean, you look at, again, just because I work with entertainers, I work with athletes, and I see just so much this crossover between the two areas. Or trust, that's such a common factor in success, right?
Right.
Whether you're working by yourself or with the team, at some point you're working with someone, even though you might be an individual talent. A lot of times you're collaborating with other people, right? So like other than trust, like what do you feel are like more like from yourself and seeing it in other people, what have you seen that has helped people achieve success in this industry?
Well, other than talent, obviously,
Yeah.
I really think it's the mindset. If you have the mindset of before I get on stage, I'm running a business. And once I'm on stage, I'm rocking and rolling, meaning show up on time, have great conversations, connect with people at your shows, shake hands, maybe air hugs nowadays, because of COVID, but just the relationships, from beginning to end of your gig, you are in this process of networking, whether you are or not. And the minute you get to a gig, if you introduce yourself to, the staff, the bar staff, the serving staff, or whoever, whatever kind of gig it is, you're already starting that rapport. And I really think that, and I believe truly that the more rapport you build with people, the more your circle will expand and the more opportunities you'll get and the more successful you'll be. A lot of people in the music industry, that I've worked with anyway, are very rock and roll, bro. I can't wait to get my free drink tickets. And then they're drinking the whole gig and they're littering the stage and they're not really representing themselves in a way that's going to get them back over and over again to create that residency with that venue. So I say have two mindsets going into it. Be all business and be very nice and communicative and really make those relationships. But when you're on the stage, have that rock and roll mindset. When you get off the stage, thank everybody. Gratitude, huge thing, huge. The minute you express gratitude for something, your life changes. Mine did, I'm sure you have experience with your life coaching, and
Oh
you
yeah.
do tons of research into gratitude, and just, there's studies that say, and I'm sure you can correct me if I'm wrong, that when you start your morning with gratitude and you end your day with gratitude, you're waking up in a great mood and you're going to bed in a great mood. It's scientifically proven, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and we can even get into detail. We won't, but just for sake of time, just like even like the neurochemicals in our brains, when we have what I call the attitude of gratitude, or what and I've heard it before too, but attitude of gratitude or a moment of gratitude, it just takes a second, right? And you don't have to spend 20, 30 minutes about no, it just takes a second,
Yeah.
and at the very that's what I tell people at the very least, when you wake up before you start your day, just think about it, right? Or even when you're in the shower, think about something that you're grateful for. Um, because a lot of times, especially everything going on right now,
Yeah.
it's so easy to fall into the trap of focusing on things that are negatives, things that we don't have, or things that are going wrong, right? And that's why it's even more important now to just take a second, just take a nice deep breath and just I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for my partner, my family, my business, whatever it is that you have. And just like and people think, oh, I have to be grateful. I don't have to. No, you have a lot. Just you'd be surprised. Like you don't have to have this fancy car, all this stuff. The fact that you're listening to this right now, you're watching this. Like people don't have eyes or ears or they can't walk. All we take for granted all that stuff, right? Um, so I tell people you can find something that you're grateful for. I know no matter how shitty your day is, no matter how crappy your life is going right now, and people they get into they get into those times, right? People get into dark days, and it's life. Life tends to happen to people, some more than others. Um, but it's when you could just pick out the positive. Sometimes that can mean a difference for so many people.
And you know what? I've done a couple experiments with gratitude in my business. And the one thing that's really working is this little thank you postcard I send out now. It's got a picture of my head and a picture of my shoes. And it says, I just want to thank you from my head to my feet
Nice.
for working with me. And literally, a venue that usually I have to wait 2 weeks to get paid, I handed over my card. I say, I just want to thank you, sir, for having me tonight. I can't wait for the next gig. I hope you stay safe, healthy. He came out with my paycheck right then and there. He goes, hey man, I don't want you to have to wait for this and drive all the way back up here. Here you go.
Yeah.
That it's always reciprocated. If you're in giving and receiving, you can't have one without the other, especially
Sure.
gratitude.
Yeah, and then I mean, I love that you brought up the point of the power of networking, the power of building relationships, because that's so true. You know, I love doing that. I love interacting with people. I love talking to people. And from the outside looking in, you might look at yourself or myself and say, oh, they're doing that just to just for their own selfish reasons. Like, no, at least for me, I love interacting with people. I love building relationships, and that's why I tell people, especially younger people who are looking to grow in whatever industry they're in. I tell them like get on like for instance LinkedIn, a huge like professional network to interact with people and network, but just talk to people, right? I know we're not like around too many people right now, but when the
Yeah.
time does come, like build those relationships, especially like in your industry, you're doing a gig, and that gesture, and I actually have people do the same thing if they have like an interview. I have them handwrite a thank you letter, and send it to them because that those small gestures can go a long way. Like that's what has them like bring you back for more, right?
Right.
It's those small things, those details that can make the biggest difference.
And also, you don't know, I mean, from the beginning of your gig to the end, you don't know what people are looking for. I've
Mhm.
played for, a bartender's wedding before that I met there. I've played for a server's, baby shower once. And when you start playing your actual set, that's when you start really getting into some good territory. When people start taking those business cards, and I can't tell you how many weddings I've booked or special events I've booked just from playing a gig and saying thank you on the microphone every time someone puts a tip jar, a little tip in the tip jar.
Mhm.
Just saying thank you out loud. Now the whole room is like, wait, he thanked somebody. Oh, he must have gotten tipped, and that's gonna, you know,
Yeah,
maybe get you some more. I don't know.
Yeah.
it's really cool. And it's not scary. Everyone thinks it's scary. We're all human beings. We've all gone through struggle. We all want to succeed.
Hmm.
If you think of it that way, we're all pretty much the same. So there's really no reason to be intimidated to talk to somebody.
Yeah, and that's so true. And it it's especially like more important now because, and it's something that we have to be more conscious of. I know I've been forcing myself to be more conscious of doing this as far as I feel like the increase of access and just everything associated with social media and technology and like texting, right? I really feel like that's impacted our ability to relate to people, to talk, even have like a simple conversation, just like even in the elevator. Like, I'm a psychologist, and so I always watch human behavior, right? And so even walking into an elevator that's has a few people in it, I'm looking and everyone's on their phones. I'm over here, hey, how's it going? How's your day going? Right? Even at the go to the grocery store. I'm talking to the cashier. Hey, you guys busy today? How's your day going? Right? It's just and it's sad when I see people, especially you see a lot of the younger people, because that's a lot of times they grow up with this technology, um, and they're just buried in their phones. It's pretty much it's a safety net for a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's like a social anxiety sometimes, right?
But on a positive note, that kind of makes guys like you stick out because not a lot of people are having those one-on-one conversations. It's like you're getting the elevator and saying hi, and it's kind of a surprise,
A lot of times they're shocked. They're like, "Oh, like
Yeah.
someone's talking to me,"
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true, and that's why I tell people like, listen, your phone, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, those are all they'll be there. They'll
Yeah.
be there when you come back. They ain't going. They're not going anywhere. Like just put your phone away, just have a conversation with someone, just like small talk. How's it going? And I feel like we need more of that. Now more than ever, and before this overtakes us all.
Yeah.
As much as great as technology and social media are, they also have those kind of scary things where it's like, you're starting to see this trend that some parts are not looking too great. But I'm gonna keep doing, keep spreading that message and keep doing me, and because it's so important. We are human beings, and we like, no matter what you believe in, evolution or not, like we're a species that crave that require human interaction. I mean, I was just reading studies about like stress, and like there's studies by an old psychologist named Harry Harlow. He did some studies with like rhesus monkeys, and it's a very famous psychology study, and they wanted to see how a monkey would either go to a wired mother with a bottle in it, and another mother that was wired but had like cloth around it, and that monkey went to the cloth mother instead of the one giving them the food, right? So that just shows, goes to show how we need that interaction, right? And that's why even today, like even newborn babies, they want the parents to like put them on their chest, right? That the interaction, that touch. And so, I mean, that's just like the basic foundational level of what we're talking about here. And so, I know I just got deep there. I just
No,
wanted to
no,
throw it
yeah, I
big,
love
but
it.
it all comes back around. It's
I
all
feel like I'm in class again.
yeah. And I got to take my professor hat off for a second. Uh, but yeah, and another thing too that you mentioned that I'm glad you brought up because it's so important. And of course, it's something that I always appreciate, just like the mental aspect of performance, right?
Hmm.
Um, I'm a mental coach, as I mentioned, for entertainers and athletes and other people as well. Any performance-based industry, which is pretty much anything. Um, but one area, because I know like in my field, a lot of times, majority of the time, it's working with athletes. Not a lot of people are addressing the musician side, right? You don't see too many as mental coaches working with someone like you or working with a musician. I'm sure there are people out there, but it's nowhere close to how like we see it in sports. So like talk to me about like your opinion, like as a singer, as a musician, of how mentality can impact someone like you or anyone else for better or for worse?
Well, I'll start this off by giving you one of my biggest mistakes that I've made.
Okay.
And that's going into something, anything really, thinking I know everything. Okay. And thinking that I'm going to get so excited to impart my knowledge on someone else. But what I realized is I don't know anything. I know things, but come on. I've realized that going into life in general, knowing that you don't know everything and taking situations and asking yourself, what did I learn from this? Someone said, I forget who it was. I wish I knew who it was, that there's no such thing as failure. There's only such thing as discovery. So I know Sarah Blakely, actually, she's the owner, founder, CEO, entrepreneur of Spanx. And I know that her growing up, and this was a cool story that changed my mindset to have more of a lifelong learning mindset. Whenever she'd sit at the table with her family, her father would ask, what did you fail at today? And what can you learn from that? So I think going into everything, knowing it all, is a big mistake. But if you go into things thinking, hey, I made this mistake. What did I learn from it? I'll fix it next time. Hey, I'm still here. I'm still alive. I also think, making sure, you set the tone for yourself. Make sure you understand that before you go out there, and it'll help you be a little more easier on yourself when you do have those discoveries. And that includes, like reading articles, finding a mentor, even reading books, and just the more gigs you play, the more exposure you have. And I'm by no means, what they say in the music business. I've got songs on Apple and Spotify, but I'm more of like a cover song. Let's book some gigs for your wedding, and kind of an event guy, so I can't speak to the people who are actually making it in the business as individual artists, but even them, you have to have a certain mindset when you want to succeed at something. And if you go into everything knowing it all, at least in my experience, that's when you're going to have a lot more discoveries, less failures. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a very similar experience when I first started working in my field because, you know, I grew up playing sports. Sports was like my life, and even when my playing career was done, I got into coaching, and I remember just like doing coaching, and eventually when I eventually got my master's and doctorate in sports psych and mental performance, I was like, yeah, I've been there. I know what I'm talking about. And so over time, you just start realizing like, hey, there's a lot of stuff out there that I don't know or that that I can grow on. Um, and so I think that comes with maturity. I think that comes with years of you just, realizing, hey, we're not perfect. And that kind of goes back to, your point earlier as far as, um, being okay with not being perfect, right? Because those failures, right? We're gonna fall down, and that's a huge message that I tell my clients, the people I work with. You're not gonna be perfect. You're not, you are going to fall down. You will make mistakes, right? And so, because a lot of times, and I don't know if you've seen this in the music industry, but a lot of times with my clients, just in general, the number one challenge and issue that I find with them, and this is like a deep rooted issue, is like a fear of failure because a lot of times they have this perfectionist mentality that they have to be perfect, right? And and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I could potentially see this. 'Cause I see this in sports all the time, but I could see this, and I've heard this with people I've worked with in the music industry, but um, where you have a musician, and it doesn't matter what type of instrument or they sing or not, where they perform and they're so caught up and then they're in their heads and they're trying so much to be perfect. Like has it ever happened to you, or can you speak on that?
Absolutely. Especially if I'm playing one of those songs that is a bar song that everyone sings along to, and I mess up. you know, everyone's looking at you. It's all your fault. But you know what? You got to shake it off. Like,
Sure.
you know, no pun intended for Taylor Swift, that song. I don't do that song, by the way. But
I
you
was about
know,
to
like,
request right now, man, but okay,
you
see.
are, it's a good thing my guitar is not in this room.
Okay.
But yeah, you know, I would fail more than I succeed, you know. I mean, I'm always adding new songs and always making mistakes, and you know, I don't forget my equipment though, that's for sure. At least I've got that covered. But, you
Yeah.
know, like I said, I get that, you know, that feeling you get like, ooh, did I really just do that?
Yeah.
Or you,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you, I have thoughts from when I was in high school and I just go, dang, remember when you did that? You know,
Yeah.
I learned from all that stuff now. And I actually get more done now that I'm not worried about how much I'm going to fail. You know, I'm getting more done and I'm putting more things out there. You know,
Yeah.
I'm writing my first ebook right now. It's about 80 pages on how to book gigs, how I book gigs. Just the other day, my friend Cody Miller, he sent me a message. He said, "Hey, I see you got a lot of gigs in November. Do you have like an agent? What's going on?" And I was happy to tell him I had this little project in the mix. And I don't know if it's going to be the best ebook. I don't know if it's going to help people, but you know, it's from my experience. It's helped me, and I'm hoping that it brings value to someone, you know, and I'm not going to not put it out because I'm afraid to fail.
Yeah. And that's the difference, man, because I'm glad you said that because no matter what industry it is, when people when that monkey of that fear of failure is lifted off their shoulders and they just, you know what, they come to the point where, you know what, I'm gonna go after it. And if I don't succeed as I hope I do, at least I'll know, but I'll have no regrets, you know, because the last thing you want to do is to look back on life and say, I wish I could have done that. All right. I wish I would have just gone for it, you know, because what I tell people is, listen, wherever you're at right now, and if you're thinking about doing something, go for it. Because guess what? The majority of the time, the worst thing that could happen is right now. Like you're just back to square one where you were before, right?
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that could happen, right? I mean, yeah, options are like if you're investing a lot of money, all that stuff, okay. But for the most part, you know, if you're thinking about doing something, like just go for it, right? And a lot of times it comes back to this a fear of rejection, right? Like for instance, like I could so see someone, you know, like a singer or musician, um, especially if they're, you know, if they have a gig and they want to perform well, right? Um, I could completely see someone, especially if it's a big gig, a big event, being in their head and being having that perfectionist mentality and just being so like, and then those thoughts are coming in, right? Those thoughts of, um, you know, I really want to, you know, make a good impression. I can't mess up. And then all of a sudden, and this happens in sports all the time too, all of a sudden you're in your head and you're not flowing, right? You're not just doing your craft because you're so like, a lot of times people tense up too. And I'm sure that could, and you could talk about this too, but um, I'm sure that can actually affect the way you sing or perform, right?
Yeah. Especially if you're thinking about it, the more you think
Yeah.
about it, you know, and a lot of this defeat comes from apathy. People don't want to put the work in. People want that like I said, that overnight success.
Hmm.
You know, thinking that one gig is going to lead to, you know, being the next Post Malone, and it very well may be.
Hmm.
But you know, if you go into things and you put honest hard work into it, and you audit yourself each time, and you just go in with that growth mindset, I don't see how you can fail.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, because at least, and again, even if the outcome is not the ideal outcome, you can still look back and learn. Like, okay, like what could I have done better at, right? Or what can I adjust for next time,
Right.
right? Because so either way, you gain something, right?
Absolutely. And be
And that's
easy on yourself. Don't set those high expectations.
yeah, and that's a part of growth, right? That's a part of maturing and growth. Because if we don't have those setbacks, if we don't have those times of failing or making mistakes or whatever you want to call it, there is no growth, right? Because you're just kind of plateauing. And so we need those moments to like humble us a little bit sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So hey, like maybe that didn't work so well, and you know you thought you were hot stuff, but maybe not so much. So let's look back and we'll review everything and just move on and grow from there. You know, and that's why
Absolutely.
all the successful people, no matter what industry it is, you know, they understood that. They understood that. Listen, like, we're gonna probably fail more times than we succeed, but it's when you come to that point of where the successes outweigh the failures, that's when you know you're gonna continue to boom from there. You know?
Absolutely. But guess what?
Um,
You can't get there without failing a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, and it's so true. And I love how you brought it before of that not being so hard on yourself. And that's what I tell people. Like, listen, you're gonna mess up no matter what you do, whether you're a musician, athlete, a stay-at-home parent, whatever it is that you do, you're not going to be perfect. And so during those times that you're not perfect, even like in the middle of performing, if you mess up, forgive yourself in the moment, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people like, is it helping you if you dwell on that moment, especially if you're performing? Like if you say you mess up, like you talked about, and you're singing one of those bar songs, right? Say you mess up and you know you messed up, and by the way, the majority of the time we are our biggest critics, right?
Oh yeah.
Like majority of the time they might not even pick up on that stuff. And I hear a lot of times because obviously I have family in music where they could hear, if certain things are off, but majority of people they can't, right? But um, but if that moment comes, like, hey, just continue, the show must go on, and it's so true.
I'm glad you brought that up because half the time, more than half the time that you mess up, nobody knows
Yeah,
unless you make it known. If you just ride through that song and you pretend like that's what you meant to do,
yeah,
you're gold. No one's gonna know. I'm sure you've been to many of the soul toned gigs where that happens. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. And it's funny too because like I'll talk to my brother and some of the other members of the band about the performance, and sometimes I'll say, "Oh yeah, we kind of messed up during this part," and like I have a pretty good music ear. I've been around music too my whole life, and I would say I have a good ear compared to the average person. But there are times where like I didn't hear that, or
Yeah.
like I might pick that up, but like the majority of people they're having a good time. They're drinking all this, they don't care. It's like overall you guys play well, and then of course like okay you can look back and say okay is it something that we could have fixed or can we fix, or was it just one of those things that you just happen to just maybe slip playing
Yeah.
an instrument, it just happens, right? um
And
and so like
yeah.
when people can release themselves of that perfectionism and continue to just master their craft and be forgiving of themselves when they get knocked down or when they have those moments of like, oh, it didn't go so well, or I messed up that one part. Um, that's when they could just okay, they can move forward from there, right? They can learn, dissect whatever happened in that one performance or that one gig, and then just move forward.
Absolutely. And the fact that they even brought it up to you, like, hey, did you hear that part we messed up on? I mean, in their heads, they're being insecure about it because I've been there. I've done it a million
Yeah,
times. But when you look back on it, they're asking you because they care and they want
yeah,
to get better. And
yeah.
they don't give themselves enough credit for even asking the question.
Hmm.
And I feel like they should give more credit to themselves. And that means that they're going to keep growing and keep changing, which is always a good thing.
Definitely. And one thing that I like to tell people is, I think I might have mentioned this before, but when we're so caught up on growing and getting better, which is great, right? Um, but we don't spend enough time for self love. We don't spend enough time of giving ourselves appreciation. So hey, you kicked ass today. You perform well, or even like practicing. Like if you're rehearsing, like hey, we sounded awesome today, right? Um, a lot of times we're just so critical, and we're looking for ways to get better, or ways that we have to grow. That's good, okay, but at the same time, like, and again, this goes back to those attitudes of gratitude, those moments of gratitude of just taking time and just say, hey, I did this well today, and I'm proud of myself for that, because that, even how insignificant it might seem, that can go a long way building that confidence. And what we know about confidence, and as it relates to performance, no matter what you do, if you go in, and I know you can attest to this, if you go into your performance confident, okay, chances are you're going to go out there and just play freely, right? It's those times where you're going in not confident, like, oh, I'm nervous, I don't know if I'm going to do well. The risk of you not doing well, especially when it's so funny when people say, I'm trying not to be in my head. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. Chances are you're going to mess up because you're thinking about it. You're giving it energy, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? Like you can identify your insecurities right away. If it's a
Yeah.
venue you've never been to and you feel like, you feel a little insecure about the setup and how much time you're going to have to set up and prep, show up early. Get
Yeah.
rid of that insecurity so you can focus on something else. So you could get to the stage, be confident. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'd rather see a guy on stage having a great time, or a girl, of course, having a great time than someone up there that's playing guitar that looks terrified. I'm not going to have fun watching that guy or girl. I'm going to have fun if they're having fun. I don't know what that's called, but hey, I know what I like to see, like Maroon 5.
Yeah.
I love Maroon 5, but when they played the Super Bowl, I wasn't into it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
Why is that? I'm just curious. Why
They
would you into
There
it?
was just no facial expressions, no charisma,
Yeah.
but they're one of my favorite bands, and I've seen them
Sure.
perform live. So I've seen the difference in performing, and I'd rather watch the charismatic person on the stage.
Sure. I mean, and I wonder if that moment just impacted. They're playing halftime of Super Bowl. If that it just impacted them like at all. I don't know if you think so or not, but
I would love to ask them, what was going on. Maybe, I was perceiving it incorrectly, but
yeah,
like I said, every other time they're having a great time, having a lot of fun. And I took a lesson from that. I don't want to be the halftime show Maroon 5. I want to be Maroon 5 at the Budokan in Tokyo
sure.
when I saw those guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. When people when they allow the moment, when they allow the situation to get too big, it's all about perception, right? How you perceive and how you view your situation. We'll take Maroon Five for instance, right? They're playing halftime of the Super Bowl. Millions of people watching. And let's say that moment, it got to them a little bit, right? Where they kind of got a little serious. They weren't playing for you like you've seen them play. Um, and when I tell time or those teams playing for the Super Bowl, um, think about your performance. Think about what you're doing, whether you're a singer, a guitarist, a football player. Okay, there's a way you perform. Should it change at all? Like, do you move a different way just because it's a Super Bowl? Do you do certain things? Like, do you like in football, for instance? Like, do you play your position differently? Like, no, right? Um, but people allow themselves to do that because of the situation, because the moment's too big in their minds. And so I tell them, simplify it. Do what you do. Have confidence in what you do, and that's where it's at. You talked about consistency, right? That consistency is where it's at. Consistent output, no matter what the situation is, instead of the ebb and flow. Like, oh, this is a big gig, I got to perform well. Oh, this is just at a bar. Oh, this is a big,
Yeah.
the ebb and flow. Okay, when you're up here and you just play free, you enjoy what you do. I mean, it makes sense where it just seems easier, right? Just make it
Right.
easy and simplify it.
And not only is that unfair to the venues when you're giving them different performances based
Yeah,
on, the capacity, or
sure.
if it's the pizza pub or the House of Blues, it's more unfair to you.
Yeah,
You're not going to be representing yourself the way you think you are.
yeah,
And by no means am I talking badly about Maroon 5. I'm just talking about this one instance.
yeah, yeah,
And who knows what happened, who knows, but I like what you said about that. There's no venue more important than the next.
yeah.
And I think that's a great thing to go in with, and I'm going to start going in with that too. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty
because
cool.
again, like the way you sing, the way you play guitar, and you tell me, like the way when you go in, when you're in the moment, when it's time to go, and you're singing your song, does that change at all? Just the actual way, like you're actually playing guitar, you're singing a song. does that change depending on the venue?
Absolutely not. In fact, actually, let me take that back. It changes sometimes, but in a positive way. Whereas I'll become self-aware in the moment and be like, you know what? Now I'm feeling this crowd right now. I can kind of read it. I think now is a great time to throw in something funny or connect with, those people at that table. And, obviously situations are different each time,
Sure.
but no, as far as performing goes, you got to go in. If you are looking at it like a business, like I do, you are looking at it as you are a brand. And if you're going in and giving the pizza parlor 50% performance and House of Blues 100%, your friends are more likely to go to the House of Blues, even though there's a bigger cover. The drinks are more expensive. It all adds up.
Sure.
I really believe, and I like that you said that all venues are created equal.
Yeah. All venues matter, huh?
Yeah.
All venues matter. And when you have a musician like yourself go into wherever you're performing, whether it's a pizza pub, House of Blues, or halftime of a Super Bowl, right? If you could just go in and just say, like, I'm gonna do what I do. This is what I do. This is what I love to do, and take it back and simplify it and get that love of performing, get that love of interacting with the crowd. Um, that's when you take that burden off your shoulders, that pressure, and like you're always gonna have butterflies, right? I suppose it just if you don't have butterflies before a performance, like, you're not human, right? It means you don't care. um, but when you can take that pressure off your shoulders and say, I'm gonna go out and do what I love, and whether it's one person listening or thousands of people listening, I'm gonna do me and have confidence knowing that I'm gonna kick some ass tonight, and people are gonna love what I do.
And 99% of the time, people who are coming out, even if they didn't come to see you perform, they're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
They want to have a good time. You're not door-to-door salesmen. You're not intruding on people's personal space or time. They came to the venue with the intention of ordering a meal, maybe some drinks, probably, maybe a little dancing, So you're in a win-win situation. Now it's up to you to make it a win-lose. Sure. With your attitude and how you approach it.
Yeah. And all you do is go out there and just enhance their experience, right?
Absolutely.
While doing what you love. And when you can look at it like that, it just like, hey, their night is already good. They're getting some food and drinks, right? I'm gonna make it even better tonight.
That's right. And you're gonna have fun too. It's not a bad job, is it?
You're gonna do what you love, right? You're not. It's ain't some 9-to-5 thing where you're forced to be like, no, you get to play and do what you love in front of people who are listening to you, right? And,
absolutely.
And just and obviously it just even better when you have this more crowd, and because you get that vibe, right? You get that it picks up a little bit, so that's awesome, man. So like, can you remember any gigs that were memorable for you specifically?
Specifically, I mean, all the gigs I've had are very, very unique, but specifically, I'd have to say it was the second time I played House of Blues for New Year's, and it was with my band Diver City.
Okay.
And it was 2018, I believe. And our band was playing. We had a crowd like I've never seen, and like I'm talking like all my colleagues from Disney came. There was a line out the door to get in. The drinks were flowing. There was not a frown in sight.
Yeah.
And my band was just so on top of it. They were just keyed into what we wanted to do that night and how we wanted to execute it. Our set list was flawless. I'm talking like everything from Rage Against the Machine to, Earth, Wind and Fire, and we just had it so well orchestrated that the music didn't stop. I got to do the countdown. I have a great relationship with the foundation room there. And it was just like hanging out with my friends, singing like really cool karaoke, basically.
Yeah.
And we had our own little VIP table, and I don't know. It was so cool. It was like kind of like a prom, but for adults. It was awesome. Yeah.
That sounds fun, man. And I know I've been to a couple of your gigs at the House of Blue over in the foundation room, and it's fun stuff,
Yeah.
And I love how sometimes it's like the different groups and acts are just so diverse. You say, I remember saying, oh, you have this and you have this, and like different kind of just the styles of music, even, like
Did you come to one of my showcases? Is that what you did?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, I had your brother's group, ESP, play there, right?
ESP, yeah,
They're great.
uh,
They're great.
yeah. I'm gonna have them on here, one of these days. So I'm waiting on them. So get them to talk a little bit about their experience in the music
You
industry.
should get them to make you like a little theme song for this podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's fun stuff, right? And then it's just when you see that kind of stuff and you experience it. I know, like I was experiencing it for myself. It's good, and I can just imagine, you being the performer, and especially if you're kind of like running things like that. It's a good time.
Oh yeah, I mean those showcases are great because it's not about me at that point. It's about me giving the opportunity to other groups to have the opportunities I've been fortunate to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you came to
the
those.
word showcase, right?
Showcase. Yeah, yeah. It's not about me.
Yeah. So like I know you talked about some things, speaking of showcasing other people, but I know you talked about some things that you've experienced, like different challenges and situations that you found yourself in. So if someone were to ask you, someone, maybe fresh out of high school or even in high school, and they're like, hey, Michael, like I want to get into the music industry. What is some advice you have for me? Like, what would you tell them?
First things first, don't compare yourself to someone else. Your journey and their journey are going to be different. If you're going to be playing this game and you're going to say, dang, Post Malone had a record deal at, I don't know, age 19 and I'm 25 and maybe I should just give it up, No. Okay. Who was it? Harrison Ford? Didn't he become, Han Solo when he was 35?
Yeah.
He was like a carpenter on the set. And now he's an icon. He's Indiana Jones and Han Solo. Give me a break.
Yeah.
So I would say go into this knowing that your journey isn't going to be like someone else's journey. You may not get famous like Bieber did on YouTube. If that's what you want and you want to get famous, like by all means, please go for it. But just don't compare yourself to others and be consistent. Keep grinding, keep going out there, keep sending emails, keep calling venues, keep networking. Join Facebook groups. There's so many Facebook groups that you can join right now just to, have like-minded people to talk to. There's so many, even it goes as far as to people in your county, people in your state, people in your country, people in other countries. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. There's really no excuse now. You were talking about social media. Use it as a tool. Don't make it your crutch. Don't make it your reason you're not succeeding. Make it a tool in your toolbox. Mm-hmm. You can network. You can read books about how people got to where they are and do that self-audit. Mm-hmm. Every couple months, do that self-audit. What can I change about my performance, about myself that would benefit me in the future? And like you said earlier, I think it's very important is go easy on yourself. Celebrate those victories. Even if it's you booked, the pizza parlor down the street I keep talking about. That's a victory, man.
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to that pizza parlor.
Sure.
You don't know the people's stories who go in there. There's families that come to Disneyland all the time that spent 5 years saving just for this 2-day trip. And they've never been before, and they'll probably never go again because they can't afford it. You don't know who you're reaching. You know what I mean? And that alone, knowing that that's a possibility, that's rewarding for any gig you play, whether you're playing busking on the street or you're playing the House of Blues. Just don't compare yourself to someone else. Have fun in the process, enjoy the process, and don't worry about the destination so much because that's inevitable. That's my advice. I don't know. Am I preaching? Am I on my soapbox here?
I'm ready to go now. I'm going to go pursue a career in music now. What am I doing? That's good stuff, man. A lot of good insight, a lot of good advice for people who want to get started. And a lot of what you said can be applied to any industry. I mean, it's just a lot of good tips there because, because you have people who aren't sure when they're trying to go down that path. of like, what am I going to do? Especially when they have no one there to guide them. So I think that's a lot of good advice for someone who's looking to pursue a career in that, because it's not easy. It's not an easy path. It's not an easy journey. And I love the fact that you mentioned that everyone's journey is going to be their own. Now, when you start comparing yourself to other people, that's where you get into some trouble, right? So when Michael Dean is not performing for others and bringing smiles to kids' faces at Disneyland, what do you like to do for fun?
I don't know. Lately, obviously because of this lockdown stuff,
Sure.
I've been really getting into running. I like to run now, and I never used to read up until about last year. And
Yeah.
I try to finish a book a week.
Nice.
I love doing that. I hang out with my Aussie wife all the time. We have our shows we like to watch, and I'm very fortunate right now. I get to hang out with my mom and dad, and down here in Carlsbad during all this COVID stuff. So
Sure.
I get to spend time with them. It's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, making lemonade out of lemons, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I know, like, when we see each other on social media, I always see the books you're reading. I'm like, oh, like I read that book, or oh, that book says I haven't read that book yet, but I want to read it, right? So, do you have any recommendations, like as far as books or podcasts or anything like that?
You want me to recommend it music wise or just in general?
Oh, it's in general, like anything that you feel that someone could just enjoy.
Tell you what, there's this one book I read, and I've read it twice now, so it must be good.
Yeah.
It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And basically he's an ex-FBI negotiator. And he gives you his stories in the FBI. I seriously, some people on this planet are incredible. The way they speak to people and the situations they get in and out of, and the people who they help. This man right here is a hero.
Sure.
And funny enough, he applies it so you can take what he learned from each negotiation and you apply it to now your life, whether you're in finance or music or, coaching. It's all about, our conversations are all negotiations to some degree. And he teaches you how important they are, how to have successful ones. And it's a fun read too, because it's very, very captivating. You get to find out how he, talked people off of ledges and talked people out of robbing banks. And he even saved lives in the Middle East just by having a little phone call from a terrorist group.
Wow.
It's a great book. So Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. One more is called Living with a Seal by Jesse Itzler. And it really challenged the way I thought about myself and what I knew I was capable of and didn't. In fact, this is his shirt, Committed to Excellence. I signed up to do his 35-day program, Build Your Life Resume.
Oh, wow.
And he gave you little tasks every day, read a certain amount of pages from this kind of a book and make sure you go on this kind of a run and, reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a couple of years and see how they're doing. Just little things like that.
Sure.
That compounding of those actions, can really set your future up. So those are the two books so I know you only asked for one.
Oh, no, it's good. Those are two books I'm going to probably buy at some point, and add to my shelf over here.
It looks like you got quite the collection over there.
Oh, I love reading. I love reading, and it's funny too. I was never a big reader until about 6 years ago, and I just started once I started reading. I did ebooks for a little bit, but once I got into it, because I prefer the physical book. That's personally.
Yeah, there's nothing better.
And I just keep buying stuff. And my fiance, she's like, "Stop buying books. You haven't read the other ones yet." And I'm like, "No, I can't walk into a Barnes and Noble even to buy a gift for someone without getting one for me."
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. You could have a different type of addiction. I think
that's exactly what I said. I'm like, listen, I could be addicted to drugs. So no, these are books. It's okay. This is the worst it's gonna get. I promise.
Right.
So my friend Michael Dean, I appreciate you being on, man. A lot of good stuff today. You do a lot of good work, man, and I know your journey is far from over. So again, I appreciate you being on.
Man, thank you so much for having me. I was super geared up and excited that you even invited me to do this. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So if anyone wants to follow Mike, so you can follow him on Instagram at Mike H. Dean. That's at Mike H. Dean. Or if you want to, get in contact with them, whether it's to ask him some questions, or even book him for your next event.
Please.
There you go. Hey, he puts on a good show. Trust me, I know from experience. You can contact him booking at silentjentertainment.com. That's booking at silentjentertainment.com. Okay, so again, I want to appreciate, thank you again, Mike, for coming on. A lot of excellent stuff today. If you like what you see, give it a like, give it a subscribe. Tell your boys, tell your girls, tell your friends, tell everyone, right? Tell everyone about the Dr. Coach. So again, everyone be safe, be easy, go love one another. Take time right now, right, Mike? Give yourself some self-love, appreciate yourself. Yes, give yourself that self-love. And we'll see you.